The fog in London is like a group of ink, heavy pressure on the top of the dilapidated house in the slum. The steam pipeline hissed, and the sound of the throbbing was moving from the remote factory, as if this city was gasping. I, Lin Tie, squatted beside a pile of garbage on the corner of the street, holding half of a hard black bread in my hand. My stomach was so hungry that I couldn't let go of it. "Hey, Wangsy monkey! Are you stealing garbage here again?" A sharp sound came from the entrance of the alley, with a slight sneering. I looked up and saw that it was indeed the helper of the noble clan. The leader, named Tom, who was wearing a torn but hard uniform of the noble clan servant, and a rock-shaped iron stick was hanging around his waist. I bit my teeth tightly and lowered my head without saying a word. This helper has troubled me. Since my parents died in a factory accident, I have become the air in their eyes. Oriental immigrants had no status in this ghost place, and the nobles were high and could only send a few subordinates to trample us as slaughter. I clenched my fists tightly, and the old tricks on my hands hurt, but I knew that being beaten even harder would only make me beaten even more. "Tisk, you're so stupid. I'm asking you." Tom strode over and kicked the trash can next to me, stinking slag all over the floor. He grabbed my torn coat and his smelly mouth sucked my face. "I can't pay the protection fee today, so I'll leave you with this life." "Protective fee? I can't even eat, so what's the money?" I finally couldn't help it and glared at him with anger. As the voice fell, a few dog legs beside him burst into laughter. Tom's face darkened, and he raised his hand and slapped him. Bang! My face hurts so hard, my ears buzzing, and my whole person is blown to the ground. The black bread also fell off and rolled into a muddy water. I felt like I was stabbed by a knife, but I changed it after not eating for 2 days. "You still dare to speak out? Hit me!" Tom sneered and signaled his hand to his back. As they came up from several large areas, their fists and feet smashed down like rain. I held my head and curled up on the ground. My teeth were so painful that I choked, but I didn't say anything. It's useless to say a word. These people are beasts. Beating people is like playing. It's over, don't be beaten to death. Duke Blake is still waiting to collect taxes on this street. Tom finally stopped, spitting on my side, and turning away with the man. I lay on the ground, and my body seemed to be falling apart. I stood up hard, picked up the piece of bread covered in mud, wiped it with my hands trembling, and stuffed it into my mouth. The bitter taste mixed with the soil made my eyes sore, but I couldn't fall down. I have to live. One day, I will make this helping dogs pay for the price. That night, I dragged my scarred body and hid in a broken alley without a man. The fog became more heavy, and the heat from the steam pipeline made people breathless. I sat against the wall, my brain was full of scenes of being beaten during the day, and the fire in my heart became stronger and stronger. At this moment, I looked down and saw that there seemed to be a metal reflection in the garbage pile beside my foot. "What's the matter?" I browed, opened a pile of rags and wood, and suddenly discovered a mechanical arm. The thing was dark golden all over, full of complicated horns, with huge fists at the end of the arm, and several sharp steel spikes embedded on the edge, which looked like they had been removed from a fight machinery of a certain noble tribe. My heart beat faster. This thing is worth the money in the slum. If you sell it, don't say you're eating, maybe you can still get the farewell to this ghost place. I tried to lift it up, but I didn't expect that the mechanical arm suddenly made a click sound. The wheels on the arm began to turn, and a low buzz appeared, as if they had come alive. I shivered with surprise, but the next second, the thing was directly pressed on my left arm. The metal clamp was locked tightly, and the stinging feeling came in an instant. I lowered my head and saw that my left arm seemed to be eaten by this mechanical arm, and the skin and metal clasp were mixed in a different way. What the hell is this? I panicked and tried to pull it off, but the mechanical arm strap didn't move, but instead moved with my thoughts. I was shocked and tried to clench my fists. The fist of the mechanical arm was tightened with a bang and a deep sound came out. I was stunned for a moment, punched the wall next to me, and with a sudden sound, a big hole was directly smashed into the wall, and the bricks were crumbly debris. Trouble. This is so strong. My eyes straightened. Just then, I thought that the wall skin could not be scraped off when I changed to an ordinary person, but the mechanical arm was lightly slammed like a cannon. I looked down at my arm. Although I didn't know where this thing came from, a hot blood suddenly surged in my heart. With this, who dares to bully me? Tom's helping hand, and Duke Breck behind him, I'll make you kneel down and scream sooner or later. The next morning, I wrapped my torn coat and hid my mechanical arms, and walked low on the streets of the slums. The fog was still so heavy, the noise of the steam machine mixed with the spells of the slang, and the noise of the Eastern immigrants clamoring for half-baked London. This place is a landlord. The nobles live on high towers and patrol the streets with mechanical warships. They can crush the unspeakable stings into meat paste at any time. These people from the East are looked down upon by local people. They are often constituted as yellow skin, storing the dirtiest and tiring work and earning the least wage. As I was thinking, a familiar smile suddenly came from the entrance of the alley. Yeah, Wangsy Monkey, are you still alive today? Tom's face that deserves to be beaten up appeared again, and he blocked my way with several subordinates. He looked at me, his eyes full of picking. I didn't feel good yesterday, so I'll add some more materials to you today. I sneered in my heart, and on the surface I was still lowering my head and putting on a demeanor. Boss Tom, please give me a gift, I'm really worth it. Before he finished speaking, he pushed his hands impatiently. Stop talking, brothers, give it to me. Several big hand slams came up, and the fists began to greet me again. But this time, I didn't get beaten with my head. Just as a guy's fist was about to hit my face, I suddenly raised my left arm. The mechanical arm started with a buzzing sound, and the metal fist slapped his hand hard. Crack! The guy's wrist was directly twisted by me, and he screamed, slamming in pain. Several other people were stunned. Tom was also stunned, muttering, What demon are you? Demon? I'm really powerful. I grinned, and the wheel of the mechanical arm was moving at a rapid speed. With a warm wind, I rushed towards Tom directly and punched him in the chest. Bang! This guy flew out like a broken wind, hitting the wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his face as white as paper. Boss! The remaining few doglegs were scared and hurried over to help Tom, but I didn't give them any chance. As soon as the mechanical arm was blown, the iron fist was carrying a broken voice, and he knocked down all the helpers in a few seconds. He lay on the ground and hummed, unable to get up even if he crawled. I stood in the middle, looking down at Tom. The steel on the mechanical arm was spiked with cold light. Tell you Duke Breck behind you, don't mess with me Lin Tie again, otherwise you will hit more than just the wall, your dog. Tom shivered in surprise, and pointed his head, crawled around with his subordinates and ran away. All the people around were stunned. Several Oriental immigrants were talking in their voices, with a light of hope in their eyes. I know that this punch not only hit Tom, but also hits the mighty style of the minions of the noble clan. People in the slums have never seen anyone dare to be such a tough and expensive tribe. But I was not satisfied at the moment, and the ruthlessness just dissipated. The mechanical arm suddenly felt a stinging pain, as if the energy was unstable, and the rotation of the throbbing slowed down. I clenched my eyebrows, clenched my fists, and felt a little nervous in my heart. Although this thing is awesome, it doesn't seem to be usable at will. What if it's broken? At this time, a low voice came from deep in the alley. Little brother, I'm very strong, but unfortunately I don't use it. I suddenly turned around and saw an old man with a stubble face leaning against the wall, wearing a torn craftsman's skirt, holding a raw wrench in his hand. He looked at my mechanical arm, and a flash of gleam flashed in his eyes. Who are you? It's interesting to watch me fight? I asked vigilantly. The old man smiled and walked slowly over. It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is that I can teach you how to use this arm. Otherwise, sooner or later, you will have to spend your life in it. I was stunned and wondered. This old man doesn't look simple, but he said right. I don't understand the mechanical arm at all. I almost got out of control just then. If I could learn the doorway, I might be able to grasp it more and deal with the Duke of Breck's helping beast. Okay, what do you think? I gritted my teeth and decided to listen to him. The old man pointed at the head and walked deeper into the alley. "Come with me, don't be too slow." I followed him, through several broken alleys, and I felt in my heart that my fate would change from this moment on. I followed the old man into a more broken alley, and the heat of the steam pipes came over, making my eyes almost silenced. The alley was filled with waste iron and wood heads. Occasionally, there were a few mice squeaking over, and the air was filled with the smell of iron lenses and rotten smell. The old man walked in front of him. His steps were not fast, but every step was very stable. The wrench in his hand kept knocking on the pipe around him, as if he was trying to explore something. "Hey, old man, where are you going? Don't tell me you just want to find a place to chat." I couldn't help but open my mouth, clenching my mechanical arm unconsciously, and preparing for the wrong situation at any time. The old man didn't turn around and smiled, his voice as if he was broken. "What's the hurry, boy? You'll know when you're here. If you want to use your arm well, it's not just a matter of hard work." He stopped and glanced at me, with a deep meaning in his eyes that could not be expressed. "Your thing is not an ordinary cargo, and if you don't do it properly, it will retaliate against yourself." My heart skipped a beat, and the tingling sensation on the robot arm was still new. This old man said it was right, and I really didn't understand what was going on. Gripping my teeth, I didn't say anything anymore, and continued to follow him. After walking for a few more minutes, a broken little iron craftsman finally appeared in the alley. The door was almost worn, with a crooked sign hanging on it, with the 3 words Lao Zhifang, which were as blurred as ghost talismans. The old man opened the door, and it was pitch black, with only a few dim kerosene lights shaking, illuminating the scattered tools and piles of worn-out parts. "Come in, don't be stunned." The old man greeted him and walked to a broken table first, sat down, and started to tamper the wrench in his hand. I hesitated for a moment, and still stepped in and put my hand on the door. "Say, where are you coming? Why are you helping me?" I stood there without sitting, staring at him. Although the old man is broken, some parts on the shelf are not ordinary goods at first sight. Maybe they are still mechanical slaughter of the noble tribe. This guy has a story. The old man looked up at me, grinned, revealing a few yellow teeth. I'm the iron craftsman who is crushed in a pile of waste. Help you? It's just that you have something to do with it. That arm. I've seen similar, expensive high-end things in the past, but unfortunately you don't know how to use it. It's pure and wasteful. He put on and knocked on the table. "Come on, stretch your arm over and let me see." I squinted my eyebrows, hesitated for a few seconds, and still stretched out my left arm. The wheel on the mechanical arm flashed coldly under the dim light, and the steel spikes on the edge looked very stunning. The old man looked closer and saw his eyes changing, and he whispered in his mouth, "It's indeed a good thing. This workmanship, this energy core, tisk, it's probably a test piece of Duke Breck's helping dogs. How did it flow into your hands?" "It's a pity." I didn't say much, but I was still guarding against him. The old man didn't chase him, took out a bunch of gadgets, started knocking on the mechanical arm, and said, "This thing is not something you can do at will. The energy is not stable, and the use of force will only kill yourself. I'll help you adjust it first and teach you a few tricks, otherwise the next time you encounter the mechanical warrior of the noble clan, your fist will become a wasteland no matter how hard it is." I heard the heart that I heard the mechanical warriors of the noble clan. That thing was pure killing machines, and the people in the slums could only run away when they saw it, and it was not of the same level at all. But the old man said it easily, as if he had seen it. I couldn't help asking, "How do you know so much?" "I've dealt with the nobles before." The old man stood up and didn't say a word, just sneered, and continued to work low. After a while, he finally opened his mouth. "Some things, don't ask now. It's not good to know too much. Get your arm first, and then, there are opportunities to make you revenge." I felt a little more about it. After about 1/2 o'clock, the old man finally stood up, wiped his sweat, and pointed at me. "It's done, try to see." I looked down and saw that there were a few fine marks on the surface of the mechanical arm, like energy grooves, which no longer stuck when the wheel was rotating, but instead felt a slippery feeling. I tried to clench my fists, but it was indeed different. The strength was more concentrated than before, and the stinging sensation was almost gone. He punched a pile of waste irons next to him, and with a bang, the iron block was smashed into pieces, and the sound made the whole iron craftsman tremble. Collection. This is too fierce. My eyes lit up, and I turned to look at the old man and grinned. Old man, you really have 2 tricks. The old man snorted, without any expression. Don't be proud, this is just the first step. If you want to truly realize the power of this arm, you still have to learn how to control energy, otherwise you won't know if you accidentally blow yourself up. From today on, come here every day to learn real skills. I clicked my head and a burst of blood surged in my heart. Although this old man is mysterious, it can help me, and I may really let me step on Duke Blake's helping thing under my feet. Just as he was about to say something, the iron craftsman's door suddenly sounded bang and a crisp female voice came in. Honey guy, what are you shaking up again? Hey, who is this? I turned my head suddenly and saw a young woman in black leather clasp standing at the door, holding a short knife in her hand, her eyes as if she could see through people. Her hair was tied into a horse's tail, and she had a bit of blondness on her face, but her facial features were quite delicate, and at first glance, it looked out of place. Allie, don't be so poisonous. This guy's name is Lin Tie, and he's an interesting guy. The boss stood up, slapped her hand, and then turned to me. This is Allie, the person from the underground organization, who specializes in singing reversals with the nobles. You may be able to cooperate. Ellie glanced at me, her eyes fell on my mechanical arm, and raised her eyebrows. Self-in one, you're rare. Old man, you really want to be a baby. This kid doesn't look like an ordinary person. She walked over and turned around me, smiling a little meaningfully. Say, what do you want to fuck? Do you want to fuck me purely or do you want to fuck me a little? I was a little uncomfortable being stared at by her, but I also knew in my heart that this woman was not simple and might be an opportunity. I gritted my teeth and said bluntly, I want to take revenge and I want to pull the helping beast of Duke Breck. The slaughter has been pressed for a long time, and I don't want to lower my head anymore. After hearing this, Allie's eyes lit up and patted my shoulder. There's a thing. I like it. Since that's the case, let's work together. I have the information of the nobles in my hand. If you have this arm, we will join forces. I may not be able to let Duke Blake walk in with his bag. I clicked my head and a fire ignited in my heart. I was going to say something more. Suddenly there was a rapid sound of footsteps outside, and the impact of metal collisions, like the static of a mechanical warrior. Ellie's face changed and she quickly rushed to the door. Looking through the gap, Lima said in a low voice, Damn. It's Duke Breck's subordinate who came with warriors. It's probably for you to come. I felt tight in my heart, held the mechanical arm tightly, gritted my teeth and said, Tom, that dog thing, must be back in Sioux. The old man also stood up, his face darkened. It seems that I can't hide. Boy, be prepared, this is your first tough battle. Remember, don't fight hard, the mechanical arm has limited energy, use your brain to fight. As the voice fell, a sneer came from outside the door. Skin monkey, do you hide in this broken place and think you can run? Duke Blake has an order. Today I want you to live here. I looked through the door and saw that Tom's guy was blocking the entrance of the alley with more than a dozen people. 2 mechanical warriors were followed behind, with black iron and huge snails on his arms. Steam sprayed out of the junction, looking very deadly. What are you afraid of? I will smash as much as you come. I bit my teeth and the wheel of the mechanical arm began to buzz. Ellie glanced at me and said in a low voice, Don't act, the weakness of the warriors is in the energy slot behind them. Let's cooperate and fuck them. The old man gave me a modified iron, and said in a deep voice, If you hear her, don't come. I cover you up, remember what I taught you, control your strength. I took the iron, and felt warm in my heart. Bang! The door was knocked open directly. Tom came in with a man, and the mechanical warrior's red-eyed lights locked me directly, making a harsh scream. I didn't retreat, and I rushed forward, punched the nearest warrior with a punch, and smashed it back a few steps, sparking all over. Ellie took the opportunity to surf from the side and accurately plan the energy groove on the back of the warrior, instantly letting it fall to the ground. "Fuck well," I yelled and turned to the second warrior again. But at this time, Tom brought several subordinates to his side and sniffed in his mouth, "Kill him." My heart sank, the energy groove of the robotic arm began to swell, and the stinging sensation came back. "Damn, you can't fight hard anymore." I gritted my teeth and controlled my strength according to what the old man taught me, and hid the warrior's cap on the side, then hit the junction on the side, jammed it. Ellie quickly replenished her knife, hitting the energy trough again, and the warrior fell down and steam sprayed all over the ground. When Tom saw the situation, his face was green and he trembled and shouted, "Retreat, retreat." But how could I let him run away? The last shot of the robot arm hit him directly on his back. The guy screamed and couldn't move on the ground. Zhou Yuan's subordinates were all dumbfounded, no one dared to move again. I gasped heavily, and the heat from the mechanical arm made my arms numb, but my heart felt so happy. I finally know that this helping dogs is scared. Ellie clapped her hands and said with a smile, "It's not bad, boy, it's so fierce in the first battle. But Duke Blake won't let it go. This time I'm just a little fight, and you'll suffer from it later." The old man walked over and looked at the mess, and said in a deep voice, "Ali said it right, the Duke is going to be a slight person. If you hit his dog, he might take action next." What's even more puzzling is that I heard that he was working on a big plan recently, intending to use mechanical warriors to clear the entire slum and give us all these people a trial. When I heard it, my eyes were red. Clean? Test the test? What did he treat us as? "Old man, where's this news?" The old man didn't say anything, just glanced at Ellie. Ellie's face was not good looking, and she said in a low voice, "I made the story, it's true." My heart sank, I clenched my fist, and the wheel on my mechanical arm began to buzz again. It seems that this battle has just begun. Duke Breck, I have long let you know that people in the slums are not easy to bully. But at this moment, a low mechanical sound came from outside the alley, as if something bigger was approaching. Ellie's face changed and she gritted her teeth and said, "Damn, it's coming again. This time. I'm afraid it's the Duke's team." The sound of mechanical sounds outside the alley was getting closer and closer, like thunder crushing on the ground, shaking the stone slabs under their feet were shaking. My heart was tightened, and the energy slot of the mechanical arm was still burning. The battle just now made my hands numb and I couldn't lift them up. But now it's not the time to rest. Ellie's face told me that the guy who came this time is definitely not a small character. Damn, Duke's team. This helps dogs come so quickly. Ellie gritted her teeth, pulled out a short iron stick from her waist, held her fingers tightly, and stared at the entrance of the alley. The old iron craftsman also darkened his face, grabbed a modified wrench, and said to me in a low voice, "Boy, remember, the army is not an ordinary warrior, the core energy trough has a protective layer, and fighting hard will only waste yourself to death. Listen to Ellie's point and find a chance to start." I clicked the head, held the iron in my hand tightly, and the wheel on the mechanical arm was moving hard, making a harsh friction sound. Although there was a little bit of fire in my heart, the fire was coming. Duke Bryck, what a bastard, is the person in our slums really a soft persimmon, just pinch it if you want? Lin Ji, let him see today, who is really hard. Roll! A group of steam suddenly burst out from the entrance of the alley, and the fog was dispersed, revealing 3 mechanical warriors with dark red bodies. They were a whole circle bigger than the guy just now. The trunk was sprayed with high-temperature steam, and the sharp rotating blade on his arms. The red light at the position of his eyes swept past us, as if he was locking a trap. Behind the warrior, following a dozen members of the team wearing black iron uniforms, the headed guy was wearing a scar on his face, his eyes were cold, he held a cigar in his mouth, and spit out a smoke ring, and sneered, "Yellow-skinned monkey, he is a big sting. How dare you wield the Duke's dog? Today's alley is your wall." "It's Scar Ren, the Duke's most powerful thug," Ellie said in a low voice, quickly pulled me back behind the Iron Craftsman's waste pile, and said in a low voice, "This guy is a tough guy, his subordinates are not alive, and the control of the warriors is also in his hands. We can't come forward, we have to hold them first and find a chance to get rid of Ren." I glanced at the three warriors and felt a little nervous. Just now, both of my arms were numb. Now that the three machines are on, the mechanical arms cannot bear it no matter how powerful they are. But when I saw Ellie's calm eyes, I gritted my teeth and said, "Okay, I heard you. How do you fuck me?" Ellie quickly glanced around her eyes and pointed to a narrow alley behind the Iron Man. "There is a small path there that can reach the back of the alley. You and I will approach Ren while the time comes. The Iron Man is responsible for attracting firepower. As long as Ren is killed, the warrior's control core will be short-circuited, and we will have a chance to break through." The old Iron snorted and pointed, "Tell me, don't drag your back legs." As he said, he picked up a bunch of waste iron parts and slammed them towards the entrance of the alley. The sound of ding 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 instantly attracted the attention of the warriors. The red-eyed ridge locked him, and the blade's arm buzzed over. "Go!" Ellie shouted softly, pulled me to squat quickly, and roamed from the side to the back alley. My heart beat like a drum, and the stinging sensation of the mechanical arm became stronger and stronger, but now I don't have time to control these things, so I can only grit my teeth and keep up. The back lane was narrow and smelly, and the heat from the steam pipe made me sweat heavily. I stepped on mud and broken iron constantly under my feet, making a slight sound, which made me feel silly in my heart, for fear of being discovered. In front, the Iron Craftsman sent a giant metal collision in the direction of the Iron Craftsman, accompanied by the old Iron roar, "Come on, beast. I'm worth more than you." I couldn't help but look back, and saw that the old man used a pile of waste irons to form a temporary barrier. The wrench in his hand danced so hard that he dragged a warrior, forcing the other two to deal with him. "Don't look, be dedicated." Ellie grabbed me, with an anxious voice in her voice. We finally walked to the back of the alley. Through the gaps of broken wooden boxes, we could see Scar Ren standing behind the warriors, holding a small mechanical controller in his hand, sneering at the corner of his mouth, and ordering the members of the army, in Club the Broken Child, "Don't let anyone run away. Lord Duke wants the yellow-skinned monkey's arm, and you can live or die." "Damn, this bastard really thinks I'm a dish," I murmured in a low voice, and my hands tightened. Ellie glanced at Ren's position and said in a low voice, "He has 4 soldiers around him, and the warriors are all in front of us. We only have one chance. You are responsible for attracting attention from the front. I will start from the side and get rid of his controller." I clicked the head, and the wheel of the mechanical arm was turning up again. Although the energy trough seemed to be burning, I knew that this blow would have to be done, otherwise we would be done. "Okay, do it." As the voice fell, I suddenly rushed out of the wooden box pile, and my mechanical arm accumulated a punch, directly hitting the nearest member of the team. Bang! The guy didn't even react, his chest was sunken, and the whole person flew a few meters away, hitting the wall of the alley, and fell down without even a humming sound. "Who is this?" Ren turned his head suddenly, his face changed, and the controller in his hand quickly pressed a few buttons, and a warrior standing horse turned around, and his arm stabbed towards me. I gritted my teeth and held it hard, dodging the blade on the side, and hit the arm with a punch on the side of the warrior, jamming it, but the tingling sensation of my arm burst out instantly, as if thousands of skulls were pierced into the flesh, and I almost knelt down in pain. "Catch him!" Ren yelled, and the remaining 3 left were swept over, and the iron stick in his hand smashed into my brain. I gritted my teeth and slid and hid, but the energy groove of the mechanical arm was already illuminating, and my strength was getting smaller and smaller. My heart sank, knowing that I couldn't fight hard. At this moment, Ellie suddenly rolled out from the side, and the short knife accurately planted over Ren's wrist. The controller fell to the ground with a splash, making a sound of crispness. Ren snorted in pain, quickly pulled out a short gun, and pointed at Ellie. "Sir, seeking death. It's you who's looking for death." I roared angrily, regardless of the sting of my arm, and suddenly rushed over, and the robotic arm finally hit Ren's shoulder. this guy screamed and took a short gun. My whole person was hit on the wall by me, blood was overflowing from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with incredible. "The warrior is out of control," a member of the military team shouted in shock. Sure enough, after the controller dropped, the red eyes of the three warriors began to scatter, and their actions became inconsistent, and their swords were dancing around, even hitting their own people. "Retreat quickly." Ellie grabbed me and ran towards the deep alley. The old iron craftsman also took advantage of the trouble to get out of the iron craftsman. His face was full of sweat, and there were still a few blood marks on his body, but his eyes were still sharp. He ran and shouted, "Don't fight, the Duke's reinforcements will arrive in no time." I gasped heavily, my mechanical arm was completely exhausted, and it hung on my body like a waste iron. My skin on my arms was blistered, but I felt so happy. Scar-Ren was finally hit by me. But before I could be more proud, there was a sudden roar from behind. "Lin Ji! I have remembered you, the Duke will not let you go." When I looked back, Ren had not passed yet. He was helped by several men, staring at me with resentment, and grabbed a piece of communication machinery in his hand, as if he was contacting reinforcements. My heart sank, knowing that it was so irritating this time, but my feet didn't stop. I rushed into the back alley with Ellie and the old iron craftsman and disappeared into the mud. We ran for half an hour and broke through the alleys without a single slash. The heat and smoke of the steam pipes were mixed together, making my brain burn. Finally, Ellie took us into a deserted underground warehouse, and the doors were almost penetrated, with raw iron buckets and rags piled up, and the air was full of musty smell. "It's safe at first." Ellie sat down against the wall, gasping heavily, holding the short knife in her hand, and a burst of fatigue in her eyes. The old ironsmith checked the door, and after confirming that no one was following him, he also sat down and began to wipe the wrench in his hand with a rag, saying in a low voice, "Ren is not dead, the Duke will know about this soon. You, be careful next, the slum is probably going to change." I sat next to a pile of broken irons, my arms trembled with pain, and the energy groove of the mechanical arm was completely darkened, as if it was wiped out. The fire in his heart became more and more prosperous. He gritted his teeth and said, "What are you afraid of? Come and I will smash one. Duke Blake wants to clear the slums, so I will let him take a look first. Who will clear the slums?" Ellie glanced at me and smiled at the corner of her mouth. "There's a thing. However, the gang of Ren must report that the Duke's team is not a vegetarian. Although we won this battle today, it was exposed too much, and the points of the underground organization would probably have to be transferred." I was stunned, my heart was a little calm. The underground organization is our biggest reliance against the Duke. If it is a little bit depressed, wouldn't it be even more difficult to turn things around? Just as I was about to ask what to do, Ellie suddenly took out an old map from the ground, opened it to the ground, pointing to a few red points above and said, "This is our last hiding place, and there are some weapons and information in stock." I didn't want to use it at first, but I have no choice now. "Lin Ji, although your arm is strong, your energy is not stable. If you fight hard, you will kill yourself. We have to recover our strength first, and then, give the Duke a big one." "Big? What's going on?" My eyes lit up and I looked over at the map. The old iron craftsman also came here and said in a low voice, "The Duke recently built a secret factory in the East District to produce new types of warriors, with a core energy of 10 times stronger than that of ordinary warriors. I heard that they will run a group of core factories next week, and the time when they are most relaxed is our chance to start." Ellie pointed her head, and there was a ruthless look in her eyes. "Yes, if you beat this group of core members, you can not only cut off the Duke's back, but also upgrade your robotic arm. By then, don't talk about the team, even the Duke himself will have to kneel." I heard my heartbeat accelerated, and the robotic arm was upgraded. That wouldn't he be able to directly overturn the Duke's war car? But when he thought of the tough battle just now, he felt a little nervous and asked, "Will the guard be so relaxed? Will the Duke, that dog thing, be so stupid?" Ellie sneered, "Stupid? Of course he is not stupid, but the information shows that there was a valuable clan meeting in the East that day, and the Duke and the main team of the troops would participate, and the factory only left basic guards. As long as we plan well and fight quickly, we are 90% sure. I gritted my teeth and said, "Okay, do it." I have long wanted to let Duke Blake know that people in the slums can make a big splash. As soon as the voice fell, a slight sound of footsteps suddenly came outside the warehouse, as if someone was approaching. Ellie suddenly stood up, held her sword in front of her, and said in a low voice, "Damn, what's going on? No one should know about this place." The old iron craftsman also stood up, his eyes were sunken, and the wrench in his hand was chuckling. "Be careful, it may be that Ren's people are chasing us, or it may be that there is an inner ghost among us." His eyes swept past Ellie and me. Although he didn't say anything, I felt a chill in my heart. An inner ghost? What does this mean? But before I could think about it, the broken door of the warehouse suddenly squeaked and a familiar figure stood at the door, carrying a meaningful smile, which made me feel cold. The moment the warehouse was pushed open, a cold smoke came in, carrying a pungent smell of iron. My heart tightened. Although the mechanical arm was not strong enough, I still instinctively clenched my fists and prepared to go. The figure standing at the door looked a little blurred under the dim kerosene light, but the familiar and slutty smile made me feel cold. It was Scarrin. "Damn, why is it you again?" Ellie gritted her teeth and slapped her short knife in front of her, her eyes as if she wanted to eat people. The old iron craftsman also stood up, his wrench clenching and his face was so heavy that it could drip. Ren grinned, the scar on his face turned even more under the light, and he was holding the controller that had just been cut off by Ellie. Although it was broken, it seemed to have been mostly repaired. He walked in slowly, followed by several team members, his eyes cold, as if he could snatch us up at any time. Skin Monkey runs quite fast. Unfortunately, the Duke's eyes are everywhere in this broken place. Where can you hide? Ren spitted, his eyes swept over us, and finally stopped on me, carrying a greedy man. "The Duke is going to settle that arm. I will give you a good time, otherwise, you three will all turn into meat paste today." I felt aroused in my heart. Although the mechanical arm was exhausted enough, I couldn't feel irritated and gritted my teeth and sneered, "I want an arm. Come and take it. I want to see how many lives the Duke's dog has." Ren's face darkened, his hand slapped, and several team members stood up behind him, with iron sticks and short swords in his hand flashing. Ellie sniffed, "Don't fight hard, drag it down." She flashed, and the short knife stabbed a narrow shoulder accurately, forcing the other party to take a few steps back. The old iron craftsman was not vague, and the wrench danced so hard that he smashed a guy over. But I was so worried that the mechanical arm was weak and relied on my pure body to resist. After a few moments, I was forced to retreat. The burning of my arms hurt so much that I gritted my teeth. Ren looked at him with a sneer, like a cat teasing a mouse, and was not in a hurry to move. "Boy, don't slap it. Your broken thing has been wiped out long ago, right? If you don't hand it over, I will remove you with your hands." He finally moved. With a press of the controller in his hand, a broken warrior suddenly started from a distance. Although he was slow, the blade arm still slashed at me. Damn! I gritted my teeth and slammed and hid, but there was still a bloody hole in my back, which made me sweat in my cold sweat. Ellie saw this and roared at Ren, wanting to snatch the controller again, but Ren was ready this time, and punched her on her shoulder with a backhand, forcing her back to take a few steps back. "With that ability, do you still want to fight against the Duke?" Ren smiled, approaching his feet, and was about to attack me. But at this moment, a low mechanical buzz suddenly came from the corner of the warehouse. I looked down and saw a glimmer of light on the energy groove of the mechanical arm. "Old man, what's going on?" I looked at the old iron craftsman in surprise. He gasped and a smile came out of the corner of his mouth. "I have said earlier that this thing is not an ordinary item and has a self-study function, but it depends on your willpower to stimulate it. Boy, don't be jealous, fuck him." I felt aroused in my heart, bit my teeth tightly, and stood up, and the wheel of the robot arm was slowly turning. Although the force was not strong, it was better than it was. When Ren saw this, his face changed and he roared, "Kill him!" The warrior and the soldiers came over at the same time, but I didn't hide this time. I punched the warrior's connection, stuck it, and then kicked it over with one foot. "Ally, controller!" I yelled, and Ally was pleased and took the trouble to snatch Ren again. This time the short knife stabbed directly into his arm, which made him scream in pain, and the controller landed again. I didn't care or not, the last burst of force in the robot arm burst into pieces and punched Ren in the chest. The guy flew out a few meters and hit the iron barrel. He rushed over without even humming. "Retreat!" The old iron sniffed softly, lifted the controller and smashed a sparse cloud, and took us out of the warehouse. The team members behind us still wanted to chase, but the warriors lost control and attacked them randomly, making their own people a mess. We took the opportunity to disappear into the fog. A few days later, we hid in the last underground spot Ellie said, a shattering point hidden deep in the sewer. The smell here is so stinking that the steam pipes always leak, but at least they are safe. My robot arm was urgently repaired by the old iron craftsman, and I finally recovered 50% of my energy, while Ellie was busy integrating the information and preparing to start with the Duke's secret factory. The story is right. Tomorrow is the meeting of the noble clans. The main players of the Duke and the Grand Marshal are in the high towers in the east, and the factory has the least guarded the factory. Ellie pointed to the map, her eyes full of determination. This operation is not only about slashing the core, but also about giving the Duke a slap in my way. "Lin Ji, your arm is the main force, we must fight quickly." I sniffed my head and a fire ignited in my heart. "Okay, fuck him. I've long wanted to take the Duke Blake's dog." The old iron snorted and gave me a bottle of self-made energy liquid. "Drink it, it can stimulate the potential of the arm in a short time, but remember, don't come around, and if you can't hold it back, you can withdraw." The next night, the fog was heavier than usual, as if it was a layer of natural cover for our actions. Our group of more than 10 people were all hardworking from underground organizations and quietly penetrated near the East District factory. The rings here are very strict, and the high walls are full of mechanical lights. Although there are not many guards, they can still hear the low-headed birds that are turning around from a distance. "Lin Ji, attract firepower from the front. My brothers and I will steal the core." Ellie finished her low statement and disappeared into the fog. I gritted my teeth and drank the energy liquid. The mechanical arm instantly swelled, and the buzzed as if it was about to explode. Without hesitation, I directly pushed out a hidden point and punched the factory door. With a stop sound, a big hole was directly smashed into the iron door, and the alarm sound instantly hit the night sky. "Who? Catch him!" The guards yelled and rushed over, and several light warriors also started, and the red-eyed lights locked me. I grinned, and my mechanical arm fisted continuously, smashing the warriors into wastelands in a few seconds, so the guards could not get close to them at all. The side effects of the liquid may have appeared quickly, and I was in a state of great pain. My arms seemed to be about to burn, gritting my teeth and holding back all the firepower. Fortunately, Ellie and the others succeeded very quickly. Not long after, she brought a person out, holding several cores of blue light in her hand, and shouted excitedly, "It's done. Retreat." Only then did I relax my breath, and the last robot arm smashed over a warrior, thrust out of the boundary, and disappeared into the fog. After getting the core, my combat power doubled directly, and my brothers in the slums were also greatly aroused and joined the rebel army. A few weeks later, our strength was already hard-working against the Duke, and the Duke of Blake obviously couldn't sit still. He led his team to drive his ace mechanical car and led the team to sweep us to the slums. "Yellow-skinned monkey, today is your death." The sound expansion device on the war car sent the Duke's loud sound. In the fog, his war car was like a mobile fortress, made of black iron, steamed in the muzzle, and the surroundings were surrounded by troops and warriors, with a strong atmosphere. The streets of the slums were trampled to pieces, and the scoundrels hid in the dilapidated house in amazement, and even the heir was not daring to leave. Diet period? It's almost the same for me to send you on the road. I stood in front of the resistance army, and the energy groove on the mechanical arm was flashing with blue light. After upgrading, my strength was more than 10 times stronger than before. Ellie stood on my side, holding a short knife in her hand, and said in a low voice, "Be careful, the core of the battle car is at the top, and the guard is the most serious, but as long as you hit it, you can snare it." I clicked the head, and the fire in my heart had already burned to the top. My parents died in the Duke's factory accident that year. I was trampled under my feet by a dog's legs. Now I can finally take revenge. Brothers, let me fight. Today is either they die or we live. I yelled, and the brothers who resisted the army roared and followed and met the troops in close combat. The battle scene suddenly became a group, and Ellie brought people around the side. The old iron craftsman used a modified projector to smash a large number of waste iron parts, dragging several warriors. I rushed straight into the battle car, the mechanical arm was full, and I punched the side of the battle car. With a bang, the iron skin was sunk directly, the battle car was shaken, and the muzzle deviated from the direction. Looking for death? The Duke roared, and the guns from both sides of the warfare shot over. I gritted my teeth and slammed and hid, but a blood mark was still wiped from my shoulder. The team members also came up. I didn't care or not, but the robotic arm fisted continuously, smashing a bloody path and approaching the top of the battle car. "Yellow pig, do you think you can move me?" The Duke's voice came out of the war car. With a panic, the top turret suddenly turned towards me, and the muzzle was facing me, and the steam was sprayed out with high pressure, and it was about to fire. My heart sank, knowing that I could not hide, so I simply gritted my teeth and stepped on it. The energy groove of the mechanical arm shone brightly and smashed it hard at the fort. Roll! The turret was deformed by me, and the cannon exploded inside. The top of the war vehicle directly exploded a big hole, and the flames blew up the sky. The Duke's cry came out from the inside, the car lost control and crashed to the side. The team saw that the soldiers were in a big collapse and retreated. "Good job!" Ellie yelled, and took the man into the war car and dragged the Duke out directly. This guy's face was full of blood, his noble uniform was as bad as a beggar, his eyes were full of shock, and his mouth was still shouting, "Let me go! I can give you gold, status, anything." Gold? Status? What I want is your dog's life. I walked over with a sneer, my mechanical arm raised high, and the Duke was shocked and trembled, but I didn't smash it down, but just spit it hard on his face. "From today, the people in the slums are no longer your dog. Crash out of London, otherwise I will smash your head with one punch." The Duke was dragged away by his men, and the troops and the warriors collapsed in their entire lines. The brothers who resisted the army burst into a shocking cry. I stood in the ruins, my mechanical arm hanging down. Although my arms were numb, I felt very happy. Ellie patted my shoulder and grinned, "Lin Ji, it's done. From now on, you will be the king of the underground." The old iron craftsman also walked over and smiled rarely, "Boy, I won't teach you in vain. This arm is definitely not wasted." A few months later, the pressure of the noble tribe was completely broken, the slums were no longer low, and the underground world of London had a new order. I, Lin Ji, became the true king of underground, and the blue light of the mechanical arm became the hope of the man. The Duke of Breck rolled out of the city and heard that he would hide from the country and would never dare to come back. And I, standing on the top of the highest broken building in the slum, looked at London under the fog, and only had one thought in my heart: this city finally belonged to us.